Amagyanatimirandasya Gyananchalashlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we'll continue with the reading of Bhagavad-gītā as it is from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, founder-ācārya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We are continuing with chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And okay. And the premise of this chapter or the theme is that we should use intelligence not to excuse our material attachments, but to use it in the service for Krishna, for our spiritual advancement. So last time we did Arjuna's reasons for fight, destruction of a family tradition. So we spoke something about the samskaras and how elderly members of the family are keeping the progeny in a good condition, in good spiritual and material shape, so they can progress spiritually. And today we will continue with fear from sinful reactions, and we'll conclude this chapter. (136) Papam eva shrayedasman hatvaitan atatayinaha tasman narha vayam hantum dhartarashtran sabandhavan svajanam hikatam hatva sukhinakshyama madhava. Papam vices eva certainly ashrayet must come upon asman as hatva by killing etan, all these atatayinaha aggressors, tasma therefore, none never, arhaha deserving, vayam we, hantum to kill, Dhartarashtran, the sons of Dhritarashtra, Sabandhavan, along with friends, Svajanam, kinsman, he certainly, Katam, how, Hatva, by killing, Sukhinaha, happy, Syama, will we become, Madhava, or Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune. Translation: sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Purport: according to the Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. 1, a poison giver. 2, one who sets fire to the house. 3, one who attacks with deadly weapons. 4, one who plunders riches. 5, one who occupies another's land. And 6, one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary man. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of the state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama, Rajya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife Sita. But Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's addressing of Kṛṣṇa as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Kṛṣṇa that as the husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Kṛṣṇa, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. It's a very nice purport from Srila Prabhupada. First thing here is a list of six kinds of aggressors. And in the case of Duryodhana and the Pandavas, Duryodhana tried to poison Bhima, so he fulfilled the point 1. Then he tried, he built a house for Pandavas somewhere in the forest from shellac, which is very combustible material. And when they lived there, when they went there inside, so he set fire on the house. So he's fulfilling the point 2. Then now is the war, so he is trying to attack with deadly weapons. Also, he tried to get the Pandavas wealth and land, so 4 and 5 are matching, and kidnapping wife, of course, during the gambling match, the Draupadi was seized by Duryodhana, so he's matching, or he's fulfilling all these 6, not only 1, but all the 6 conditions for being killed as a sentence. And now is becoming more rare and rare in different countries, because before it was, that sentence was quite, or terminal sentence was quite usual. Even in the Vedic scripture we see that for such sins people were killed immediately. But now in many countries of the world, this death sentence is stopped or cancelled. Maybe in America, some states they have, or maybe some other countries, but mostly in the world there is no death sentence anymore. But the difficulty is, if someone commits such actions or such criminal acts, and he is not punished by being killed, so then in the next life he is getting very, very strong reactions for these sins. So by killing is basically a service for him, is much better for him, because then he is starting his new life with a clean sheet. He is not like going to suffer anymore any reactions. This is enough basically for him. So by some humanitarian ideas, we are removing these Vedic injunctions from the system, from the law, but this also has consequences. So we should gradually turn back to these Vedic injunctions and to see more further with our decisions and how we make laws. So that's it to this point. And Arjuna is now arguing that because of the saintly behavior and because also on the side of the enemy there are his teachers and grandfathers, basically brahmanas, so one should not kill brahmana is dharmic rule. And these rules of the 6 kinds of aggressors is mentioned that they are artha rules. So dharma is higher. When we are trying to evaluate how to understand the scriptural injunction, so if we have rules from different levels, like from artha level, which is lower, and dharma level, which is higher, so we are considering which is the higher. So we can have 2 rules which are saying the different things or opposite things, but they have to take the higher one. So in this case, Arjuna was taking dharma level. I will show this. Where was it? Purusharthas. To make it more graphic. So here we are, artha, economic development, politics, diplomacy, ethics, and dharma are prescribed duties. So this is a higher level than artha. But there is a word of Kṛṣṇa, of course. And Kṛṣṇa wants these demons to be removed from the planet Earth. And this is the level of bhakti or devotional service. And this is much higher even than to dharma. So that's why Arjuna would not break any rule. There would not be any sin incurred, because this is the Krishna's desire, and Krishna is above all the dharma or artha rules, because he is the origin of all those rules, and all those rules are supposed to serve him. So this is this consideration. Yes. There is one point about so basically Arjuna is again rationalizing to defend his sense gratificatory intention by using these dharmic injunctions. He's not seeing what Kṛṣṇa is saying. And also Kṛṣṇa is addressed here as Madhava, goddess, husband of the goddess of fortune. So Arjuna is saying, if he is husband of the goddess of fortune and we are going into misfortune, so how is that? But we should know that anything connected with Kṛṣṇa, even if it looks maybe temporary or mostly because of our ignorance to be a misfortune, it will not be in the long run for sure. So we can be assured if we get some instruction from Kṛṣṇa, or most probably from some pure devotee, then there will be no misfortune. So yeah. So continue with 44. Ahobata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadraja sukha lobhena hantum svajanam udyataha. Aho alas, but how strange it is. Mahat great papam sins kartum, to perform yavasitaha, have decided. Vayam vi, yad because raja sukha lobhena, driven by greed for royal happiness, hantum to kill svajanam, kinsman, udyataha, trying. Translation: alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Purport: driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world, but Arjuna, being a sainted devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. So again, the same thing, he's arguing with the Dharma arguments, but he is forgetting that Krishna is on his side and is personally guiding him. So these rules are over this consideration. So this is not the reason, is not the greed, like is the reason of Kauravas. So the reason is Krishna's desire. 45. Yadimam apratikaram ashastram shastraparnayaha dhartarashtra ranehanyus tanme kshema taram bhavet. Yadi, even if mami apratikaram, without being resistant, ashastram, without being fully equipped, shastra parnayaha, those with weapons in hand, dhartarashtraha, the sons of Dhritarashtra, rane, on the battlefield, hanyuhu, may kill. That may, for me, kshemataram, better bhavet would be. Translation: better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Purport: it is the custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness, resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. So here is, this looks again very saintly in appearance what he is doing, that he is arguing that even if being attacked, he will not counterattack. So it's like we are advised in one religion, if we get slapped on one cheek, we show the other one. But here is the different thing, because he is a kshatriya, so he is not supposed to run away from fight or even to give up. He is supposed to fight as a duty, because this is the kshatriya's duty to protect, to fight. So he is just trying to make some image of self, of a saintly person, and disregarding the rules or Krishna's desire. And this is a manifestation of false ego, that we are trying to paint some image of our identity, which is not real and is not matching what we are supposed to do. And this is really difficult to deal with, especially for our spiritual masters or spiritual guides, because they have to go through this image and again dissolve it and show us what is our proper duty. So this is a very delicate thing, and it's like walking on the minefield sometimes. We really, or the guru really doesn't, he knows, but maybe for other spiritual guides also, it's quite tricky to deal with such a disciple. How to say something and how to point him into proper direction. Even he has to always use indirect methods, because if he gives direct instruction and disciple doesn't follow, so it's disobeying the guru's orders. So he has to somehow indicate what he wants, and hopefully the disciple will understand what guru is asking him, especially in the beginning when the disciple is not very much surrendered. So he may show different reasons, argues, and why not to do something. And it's okay if we cannot do it immediately, some instruction, but we keep in mind and how to make it work, how to implement it, how to make some plan. So this is okay. Like even Srila Prabhupada, he got instruction in 1922, I think he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, or even earlier. And he told him, on his very first meeting, he told him, just Prabhupada was offering dandavats to his future guru. And when he was even like rising from the floor, immediately Bhaktisiddhanta told him to, because he's a knowledgeable man, he knows English, so he's supposed to spread message of Lord Chaitanya in the West. So very first meeting, Prabhupada got this instruction. But when he implemented it in 1965, he arrived to USA, to America. So it's like more than 40 years later. But during all this time, he kept this instruction in head, and he was never forgetting his guru's instruction. So this is the principle. Even if we cannot implement everything immediately, we are working towards this direction, and that's okay, because the consciousness is okay. We are not neglecting it. We are just trying to find out the way how to fulfill the desire of spiritual master. Something like that. The last shloka, 146. Sanjaya Vacha eva muktvarjana sankhye rathopasta upavishat visrijasa sharam chapam shokas samvignya manasaha. Sanjaya Vacha, Sanjaya said, evam dus uktva, saying Arjuna, sankhye in the battlefield, Ratha of the chariot, upaste on the seat, upavishat sat down again, visrijya putting aside, sasharam along with arrows, chapam the bow, shoka by lamentation, samvigna distressed, manasaha within the mind. Translation: Sanjaya said, Arjuna having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Purport: while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Okay, there is some comments in the chat. Yes, in dreams also spiritual master came directing Srila Prabhupada. Yes, yes. In dreams also through his god brothers, even through some complete foreigners. Even he was in America, and he was at the time he was distributing back to Godhead. And in some library, some person told him that that he should print books, because magazines usually people or newspaper they throw it away, but they will keep the book. So he was even in this way. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was telling him what he is supposed to do. So yes. And this is also common method, that spiritual master comes in dream when he is not physically manifested here. So is a way how he can continue guiding us. But also we have to be very sensitive and pure to even perceive these dreams, because if we are in ignorance, we may forget, or we may somehow, it may be covered, this message. So this also depends on the purity of a person when spiritual master would come in a dream, so he can understand the message properly. And usually these dreams are very, very clear, very different than ordinary dreams. Yeah, thank you for the comment. Okay, that's it for today. Next time we're starting Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Okay, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai.